Good morning, everybody. It's July the 3rd, and you're here live with the Retail Doc. Thanks for joining me. Do me a favor and type in where you are joining me from. And I'm happy to be here on a holiday weekend. You know, one of the things about being consistent is being consistent. It would be easy to say, oh, well, you know, it's a holiday weekend. Everybody will be away. I don't have to show up. You do have to show up. If you say you're going to do it every first Sunday of the month, which is what I do, then you better show up. Hey, glad you're here, Julie. You were the first one to comment from Elmira. It's kind of a nice summer day here in upstate New York. And today I wanted to talk to you about serotonin. So yesterday I'm driving down the street and I see this young woman, probably in her, I don't know, early teens, and she is running up the street to see a dear friend, and her hands are up, and you can hear them screaming how excited they are. And I thought, yes, that's the serotonin level that's building up to the point where you have to express something in your body and how great it is, right? And that's wonderful. And so if you've ever been in one of my speeches, which I would imagine several of you have, you know that I play an awful lot of games to get you what? Excited, and to get your what? Serotonin going. Because if the serotonin's going, you find that time stands still, you find that you're more engaged and more synapses are firing, and you get a connection involved, right? It's very exciting. At least I think it's pretty exciting when you hear me speak. I'm pretty excited. The key, though, is in your store, that same thing has to happen. You know, there's times when you see someone who walks in and they spot something they weren't expecting. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And your goal is always to then help them see that they could take it home with them, not just to get excited about it. Right. And also, even when you are selling something like, let's say, I don't know, scrubs or something, that, yeah, that maybe that's not going to be like they're seeing a Tiffany ring or something, but you're still going to try to find a way that they feel they matter enough they can open themselves up and be excited about whatever that purchase is that means something to them. And that's what serotonin does, is it explodes those emotions, and it gets us this feeling of well-being and hope. And that's what we need in this world of increasing kryptonite and other things. And your customers are walking in wanting to feel like they're heroes, but a lot of us these days, we're tired. We've been through it. Let's face it, last couple of years been tough. It's draining with the news and everything else. And I get a million reasons why it is. But that all has to stop if you're going to make money. You know, the last 3 weeks I was going down the California coast, and I'm going to write a blog post on it probably this week, some of the things that I saw. But one thing that was really exciting to me was to see how many people in hospitality were excited about seeing people and going out of their way to make people feel welcome. And I think that's the key. And yet when I walk into some retail stores, you'd think that it was business as usual, like being like that standish, aloofish kind of thing works. And I'm just telling you, it doesn't. So I hope that you will then if you're curious about how to do that, well, SalesRx, my online retail sales training portal, is doing that on, I think, 10,000 people around the world, 4 continents, and in a variety of different products. But it's the soft skills of how to engage a stranger and bring the best of my employees' personality to the forefront, instead of them taking a time machine backwards to work in a retail store where we're just standing around waiting for someone to walk in the door and happen to ask for that one thing. Do you have this thing? Yes, it's over there. Great. Anything else? No. Great. I did the job. That wasn't the job. I could have had a robot's arm come out and pick that up, or they could have bought that online. The job is being able to engage so much that they feel that they matter. And from that, being able to translate that to more items that are in your store, whether you're apparel or home improvement or whatever it's going to be. That's really the key. That's what I sell. That's what it is. And, you know, it's funny. Sometimes people say, oh, well, I don't want to sell. In fact, in my speeches, I'll go through and I have a setup to this question, and I go through it, and then I say, "Well, how many of you would want your kids to grow up to be salespeople? Put your hands up." And maybe it's 1%, maybe crickets. And I go, "Isn't that funny?" Because you're in a conference where people are having to sell something every day, and if you look around, there's nothing you're seeing, wearing, or using that wasn't done by somebody selling it. And so if you are having trouble saying that you are sales, oh, we don't have salespeople, we're associates, we're designers. Okay. But if they don't understand the job is to sell the merchandise, then what you're probably looking at here in July the 3rd is more merchandise on your sales floor after you've paid a lot more money for it, after you've done markups. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to panic because you've got so much merch. You're going to start doing what? Discounts and coupons, because that's always worked. And yet, the very reason you raised those prices was to be able to get that money back. And the only way you're going to get it back at those levels is to be able to engage someone in a way that says, you are the hero. And that's going to take training, and training takes about 3 or 4 months. Anyone that tells you otherwise is wrong. We don't sell a bunch of videos. You can get that free on YouTube and all sides of things. It's a program for how do we do better at customer service and selling. So I hope you'll check that out, salesrx.com. And I also wanted to thank you all for your input the last 3 months, the last 3 weeks. I've been asking questions and I put them up there, and then gets the dialogue in. And what I particularly like is you talk to each other like, oh, well, I think this or I think that. And some of the best this last week were on employee discounts. I'll probably do a blog post on that. Very interesting to how some people, you give them 10% off, and then other people will give them cost. And I think there's room in the middle there for some discussion. And also just the best tips you had on cleaning. I think that was on Wednesday, and how you got there. And I think that's really important as well, because it isn't so much that we don't know it. It's how do we systematize it and give it a process so that a customer is able to come in and get the best of your store, not an also ran. So let's see who's here with us today. Got Muhammad, thank you. Glad you're here on LinkedIn. John, both Johns, glad you're here. Katie, glad you're here. Daniel, displays do that. Well, that's true. Alex, I'm looking forward to seeing you in October when I'm out in your way for NNBA's meeting. Arturo, glad to hear you're there in Mexico. Fabulous. Layla from Morocco. Mohammed, I haven't seen you for a while here in New York. And Heidi, always in beautiful Saratoga Springs. And Brazil, Fatima. We got the whole world tuning in today. I love that. And even Cheryl from Connecticut. So thanks so much for that. Well, you've got some interesting questions for me today. I don't know that I have all the answers, but I will tell you I have an opinion about it. So let's see what you said. Julie says, is it a bad or a good idea to employ the person who had worked as a manager employee in the store for over 15 years till they closed down and sold the store to me? Ooh, Julie, that's a pretty loaded question. Personally, I tend to err on the no. They would have to have a compelling reason for me to bring them back. Why is that? Because if you bought this business from someone else, the likelihood of someone having been there for 15 years to say, well, we don't do that. Well, we didn't do that. Well, we don't do that. Oh, we can't do that. Our customers will never. And a lot of times, if you at least have the discussion with them and say, whatever happened before is done, here's what I'm going to expect, and tell them what success looks like, then I think you have a greater shot of it. But I would also say, if you decide to do that, you have to hold the leash tighter and make sure that you're checking in more often and not thinking that you can buy this business and then they're just going to run it, because the likelihood is, because you say they closed down and sold the store to me, it doesn't sound like it was a successful operation. I hope that helps. Porik says, all the way from Texas, is it bad form for a customer to wear a local competitor's t-shirt into your store? I think it always could be seen that way, and I understand your question. And then you go on to ask, what if that customer is actually the owner of the competing store? I say celebrate it. I would say celebrate it. In fact, I would even tell people, it's like, isn't it great to see that, John from so-and-so is here representing his store while in ours. And I would make a big deal. You have nothing to feel bad about. And, I think it's great for them that they feel comfortable to do that, because an awful lot of, I think, competitors in a trade environment feel like, oh, I couldn't go in another store. Oh, I couldn't do this. And if this person is, I know Porik's got an amazing gaming store, one of the best in Texas, and I think in the nation. Just saying. It means that you're offering a better experience than him. And even if he tried to do what you do, it wouldn't be authentic to him. It would be something he's trying to do, so he would fail at it. So I think you have nothing to feel bad about, and you and Brenda have an amazing job, and you're doing fabulous job. So get out there and go biking today on Sunday on your day off. So John asked this question: how would you go about selling a knowledge-based business to customers, i.e. swimming pool water fixing? And I wrote back and I said, well, how do they typically find, and how much do you charge? And he wrote back, oh, I haven't started yet. So always, if you're trying to find out if there's a market for it, just do a Google search on terms that you'd be looking for. How do I fix my pool water? Or what do swimming pool water repair? I don't know, something along that. Swimming pool water testing in your local area. See what else is out there. See what it is, and then you would see, is there a valid market for this? If there is, then you can go through and price it accordingly. If there isn't, then you a few days and hours on Google will save you an awful lot of money. I hope that helps. Rick Harfield, all the way up from Cricket, England. Hey, I'm glad you're here today. I appreciate that. Julie, good response on the t-shirt question. All right, great. And Mabub from Bangladesh, glad you're here. Awesome. We got an awful lot of people here. I can't even say hello to all of you. So Tony has kind of a long one, so stay with me because I asked for some examples. So how do you handle sensitive employees who want the world from you but don't want to meet expectations that you repeat over and over again? And so I was like, well, what does that mean exactly? So Tony had to give me some examples, like when sales are low, I'll let the staff know that I have to cut hours the upcoming week, but this person takes it personally. Yet the whole message to the crew is everyone's hours get cut. What would you do? What do you think? You can type it in there. Let me know. Don't just sit there like a bump on the log. Join the conversation. It makes it much more interesting for me. Because a lot of you, it doesn't matter what the questions are, right? You're wanting to see what I'm going to say and how I'm going to react. Well, be part of the dialogue. Jump in with me. So another example, I've asked this person to change their greeting approach on many occasions. And this person always replies that it's just my personality. It's not how this person is saying it, it's what she's not saying and personalizing, which everyone else has no problem with. She has been given 3 raises and monthly team bonuses. This person has a set schedule to her liking, and quarterly I take them all out and wine and dine them. Well, how valuable is that one person, Julie? I'm with you. That's the first question I thought. I see a way to cut hours, cut that one person. Yeah, I'm not far off of that. Well, Elizabeth, I am not a psychologist. I think that I do a lot on figuring out the psychology of selling in a retail store. I think that's important. But when I was a conductor of a chorus, and we were just starting out, so we only had maybe a dozen singers, and we went on to get up to like 60. But when we were first starting out, I had this one soprano, and she would always start off a conversation with, I know you don't like me, or I know you don't like my voice, but, and it was such a passive aggressive way. I just wanted to say, get the hell out. Just get the hell out, because it just distances me from wanting to talk to you. And, probably this person is an amiable personality style, and encourage you to check out my personality quiz. It's on the site, retaildoc.com. My guess is an amiable personality. They just want to be liked, and they don't necessarily have the tools like a guy like me would say, don't talk to me that way or say this. We're a little more direct, obviously. But don't forget, you can always write somebody up for attitude. And that usually gets people's attention. You just be very specific. When I ask things, when I say things, it always seems to come back to a personal level, and that's not it. And this is making me what? Figure it out. This is causing me to feel whatever, and just say what needs to happen. You need to make sure you check all those kind of things instead of feeling personally affronted and making a case out of it, and then have you both sign it. Now let's see what some other people, as Cheryl says, time to cut all our hours. Heidi, raises, but not doing what you ask. See, you guys are so valuable. I love that. Julie, glad you're laughing. Karen, suggest to them that should we rotate who not works at all that week, or divide the hours amongst everybody? Maybe then they would understand. See, I forgot. It's been so long. I've been on the road so long. I've kind of forgot even how to use some of my basic tools. So yeah, I love that. So again, the wisdom, when people ask me, how do I, develop my Facebook fans? The biggest thing that you really need to do is build a community where people are safe in sharing it. And this is some later. How do you see the future of the retail store? Oh, that's a question for me. I'll answer that in a second. But I think the big point is, obviously it's causing you stress. And the day that I walk in and I feel like, oh my God, I have to work with that person today, is the one where I really have to have a hard look and say, am I just being a doormat for this person? And if that's the case, somebody said, are they that invaluable or not? If you're curious about how invaluable you are, take your fist, put it in a bucket of water, and pull out your hand. The hole that's remaining is how valuable you are. We can all be replaced. I don't care if you're the number one retailer, you're number one manager, owner, whatever it is, we can all be replaced. And I think it sounds like this person feels like they are irreplaceable, and that's rarely the case. Okay, so Haley says, how do we get the customer's attention right now? What do they care about? Well, I just say, Haley, ask yourself that question. What gets you off the couch, into your car, and into a brick and mortar retail store besides groceries? Because customer attention is a long game. It's not something, that you just keep throwing up a rocket every now and then say, oh, we're still here, buy this at 30% off. So your website has to be updated regularly. You have to regular social media post. I know it can be overwhelming. I do the same thing. Every day I have to think of what am I going to put on Facebook fan page, because I can put up blog posts. I can put up questions. I can do it, but you have to think about it and be a priority, right? Um, your customers want to feel like they are a hero in a world that is consistently feels like it's going out of control. So how do you help them with that? How do you have helpful suggestions? How do you have ways to entertain and make it interesting? I know I follow several of you on Instagram, and I love the way you mix it up. I don't mix mine up as much. Heidi West had some one the other day about, like, I should work. Why do I feel like being at the beach? And she was drinking something in front of her own store, which made me laugh. And you know what? At the basic level, that's a great way to keep them engaged too. But what they care about is not necessarily 10 cents or 10% off of this or that. The reality is, we've just stocked up on just about everything we need. We want to get the hell out of it. We don't want to think that tomorrow may fall into the ocean, but the reality is that's what the news media wants to tell you. And I don't care if it's left or right or whatever, that's it. So what do we want to feel? We want to feel in control of our future. And if I can buy this one thing or help someone, or I can do this, then I feel like I have it. So you could also do a Google search as if you were a customer, to see what people care about when it comes to whatever you sell. So I hope that helps. And I apologize, I've lost the name of this person asked this question. What's your opinion for those businesses that post political signs or opinions outside their businesses, or employees that express them in their stores? So that is an incredibly loaded question. I would say if I agree with them, I think it's great. If I don't agree with them, I might frown and go in anyway. But I know there are people that would uh, move on anywhere. And I think taking a strong position is good if you're saying we welcome everyone. I think that's kind of the strongest thing you can put out there. That's why I tell so many businesses when I do business makeovers, get a red welcome mat and put it out front so that everybody understands we want everybody to be here. At the same time, I think we all have to work for a world that is more inclusive and empowering of everyone. And that's, I think, something anyone could understand. So, again, it's not necessarily the easiest thing to think about. And I am not about to tell any retailer what they should or shouldn't do, just understanding that you're taking a little bit more. In fact, some of you saw, I posted a few questions the last 3 weeks, and some people got into it with me that you're wrong. It's like, well, that's fine, but this is my thought, and this is my page, kids. It's like, well, I'm gonna unfollow you. It's like, because I asked a question, you're gonna then unfollow me, because the people who follow me are there for the long term. And that's what I go back to as well, that whatever you're going to be doing in business is a long-term decision. However you look at your website, you look at your social media, you look at your value, you look at your employees, it's a long game. It's not an instant. I hope that helps. Andrea says, any advice for advertising on radio stations to get the customer's attention? I'm thinking about offering a code like the word radio and then giving a small gift when used in store or website. This will let us know if it's working or not. Any thoughts? Andrea, radio is a long form. It's a game of repetition. So over 2 weeks, you have the same thing over and over again. They're great for events. It's great for rural areas. That's absolutely true, but not discount codes. You'll know if it's working because people will come in. But you better have an event that's an amazing event that's going to get people to come in. Just saying, we're at 8532 Main Street. No one cares. Tell us it's at the 21B exit off of the 90 freeway, and for all of your Western wear or all of your jewelry or whatever it's going to be needs, and have a tagline that people remember. But don't try to expect them to come back to you and say, oh, radio, because your own employees will know that and they'll say, oh, they said radio. So it doesn't prove anything. So that's pretty much the end of the questions I asked last time. And by the way, just know that whenever I do this, so the next one I'll do will be, I think, August 7th. So on the 6th, I'll ask questions. You can submit in advance, or I also look through like right now and see if there are any questions that I can answer for you. So Layla says, do you see the future retail store versus online stores? Will they survive? And do you see difference between countries? Well, frankly, I am US based, so I tend to look at US and Canada. And yes, brick and mortar stores are going to be around. And the great surprise of none of us is that brick and mortar came roaring back after the pandemic. People want to go out, they want to experience, they want to feel something, they want to touch, they want to hold, they want to be engaged, they want to discover, they want to feel like $1,000,000. You can't do that when you're sitting on your phone scrolling. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I don't like, oh, well, whatever. I can't do it. Not going to happen. That's why everyone's panicking that online continues to fall, that they said, oh, this is going to be a game changer. It's finally their time. Maybe, but we were locked down for 2 years and there was a lot of money going around and you couldn't spend it many places. So why the hell not? Now you can. We're going out, we're traveling, we're shopping, we're going different places. Brick and mortar will be around just fine. But what will not be around is taking the customer for granted. There's still going to be a shakeout in retail. It's still going to come down to the poor players who think it's all about price and discount, or who think customers don't notice that you have somebody with a attitude headache when they greet somebody, and that you think that it's all about product. There's a million reasons we have inflation right now. It's not a really big mystery. We all had all this money. It was held up. We wanted to buy stuff. We suddenly, a lot of people didn't come to work, so the prices went up. Not a lot of people are there to cut the trees down or make the chemicals or whatever it's got to be. Those prices go up. Oh, and throw in a war where oil is kept at bay, and it's not a mystery. It sucks. I get it. But people have got to forget that when they walk in your store. If you want to be bitter Betty or bitter Bill and stand there and tell people how it sucks to be you, it's going to permeate everything you do. I don't care if you're on radio. I don't care if you're on your email. I don't care what it is. If life sucks for you, it's going to suck for your customers. And you know what? People don't go into a store at 10 a.m. for that. If they feel that, they're going into a bar at 10 a.m., not into your store at 10 a.m. So that agrees with you, let me know. Put a yes in there if that agrees with you. Think that's good. It could be a thumbs up. Let me know that you're out there. Let me know that you agree with us. I appreciate it. Yes, Julie. I love that. Most of us wouldn't walk across the street for 10% off. I am so with you. Exactly. Yes. People have long memories. Our place would never post any political signs. Totally get that. Make shopping fun again. Yes, this we call a nice grocery store. What is this? Karen says we call the nice grocery stores the food museum. That's how stores should think of merchandising. Well, yeah, except that we don't take stuff home from museums. So maybe gift store at the food museum. Maybe that works. All right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought, Julie. All right, good. So that's kind of it. At the end of the day, we're about as successful as we make our minds up to be. If you want to go through and tell me how it sucks to be you and your vendors suck, and you probably wouldn't use that word, but you can't get product you ordered and stuff is delayed and it's costing more. And if you want to live your world in the digital bubble of how awful it is, then you are going to be a prisoner of it, because every click you make, wasn't that a song? Every step you take, who's the Tim Paul would know this. I can't think of who it is. I'll be watching you. Anyway, that's exactly what social media is doing. So every news article that's on your browser and you click, all of that is all coming up into the cloud, and it's serving you right back what got your attention. And it's going to come back to you in droves. So turn it off. It's the 4th of July, the time when America, said, we're not going to go through and live this life under somebody else. We're going to figure out what it's like to be a pioneer in a new world. And that explosion of hope and serotonin, notice how nicely that came back, is what drove us. And fireworks, we consider they're great, but let's face it, they came out of war. And the idea that we are standing here today on the steps of women and men of all kinds of colors and races and sexual identities and you name it, to live the world that we do right now is pretty great. It's a gift. Life is so rich. That's why I ended my newsletter last week. And I think that's why I'm going to end it this way, is just keep focusing on, we have so much to be grateful for. I don't have time to be depressed and worried. I'm Bob Phibbs, the retail doc. But police, thank you, Michael. Sing is that artist. I'm sitting here blocking it. I lost my whole final ending. And that's what I want you to be thinking about today, is life is so rich. I don't have time to be worried and depressed because there's too much opportunity around. I'm Bob Phibbs, the retail doc. Thanks for joining me. If you like what I had to say, please share it with your friends. Give me some comments, give me some love. And just remember, about as successful we make our minds up to be. Thanks for joining me today.